You're listening to the Wordslinger Podcast, episode 64, Write Better Faster with Monica Leonelle.
Writing a book. It can be the best way to build or grow your business, or to simply tell the story that you wish to tell. Learn how to write your book in 30 days or less. Pick up 30-day offer today from Amazon, Apple iBooks, or other online retailers.
It's the Wordslinger Podcast, where story matters. Build your brand, write your book, redefine who you are. It's all about the story here. What's yours? Now, here's the guy who invented pants optional, Kevin Tomlinson, the Wordslinger.
Wordslinger.
Hey everybody, you have tuned in to the right place, if you were looking for the Wordslinger Podcast anyway, and I'm glad to have you here. This is Kevin Tomlinson. I am the Wordslinger, and this is going to be a great day for a lot of reasons. If you're listening to this on the day it releases, which would be the 23rd of January 2016, that's a Friday, and if you're listening to it that day, my wife, Kara, and I, my beautiful wife, Kara, and I, we're hooking up the camper, our first RV, our small RV, and we're getting on the road for the next, 10 days. So we're actually celebrating our 10-year wedding anniversary, which actually happened on the 8th of January. And we're looking forward to kind of breaking in this camper for its very first voyage. So look out for us out there on the roads. If you are somewhere between Houston, Texas, and Orlando, Florida, you might have a shot at spotting us. So be on the lookout. So other than that, I got some really cool news today. I actually, for the first time in Wordslinger podcast history, I have a voicemail. It's kind of ridiculous that it's taken this long. But, I understand, though. This isn't the kind of show that has a format that lends itself to taking voicemails, actually. I've thought about this a lot over the past year. It's been more than a year. We're kind of coming up on 2 years, I guess. We're about at a year and a half. A year and a half of episodes, Wordslinger episodes, and this is the very first actual voicemail. I've had plenty of email. Anyway, I don't want to hold you back from it, especially since I'm kind of excited about it. And it's a question I can finally answer on air for someone. So take a listen to this question from Jason Longshore from Phoenix City, Alabama.
Hey, Kevin, this is Jason Longshore. I'm an author in Phoenix City, Alabama, if you couldn't tell by the accent. I just wanted to call and let you know I'm a big fan of your Wordslinger podcast. I'm kind of a podcast junkie, but the way you tie in writing as well as other entrepreneurial aspects, it really helps get me in the right mindset, and I've really enjoyed it and gotten a lot of good advice from it. I did want to ask you a specific question about the email service. I've heard you speak of it several times, but it sounds like you have a author mailing list email service that's kind of more geared toward authors, and I'm getting to that stage where I'm trying to get a mailing list set up, and I'm interested in hearing using yours as opposed to some of the other services that everybody else kind of uses. Anyway, again, my name is Jason Longshore.
Thanks, Jason, for the compliments, and I really appreciate that. But also for asking that question, because we, my partner Nick Thacker and I, we built something called author.email, and that's actually the URL for it, author.email. You can also get there by going to authoremail.com, and we'd love for you to sign up. Here's the caveat: we ran into a couple of issues with the way we were handling there was something to do with Amazon's web services that kind of mucked with the user experience a little, and we didn't really like how that turned out. So what we did was, rather than put people through a bunch of torture, we for the time being, we're leaving it in a sort of permanent beta while we figure out, sort of some of the ins and outs of how to make that experience a little better. It still works. Everything's reliable. I use it for my mailing list. Nick uses it for his, and we are still taking people in. We'll be kind of onboarding people into the beta over time, but we'd love to hear from you. So go to author.email or authoremail.com, and you can get on the mailing list there, and that will put you into the queue to be included in the beta. And to anyone who is in there already, I apologize for the delay on that. It's kind of unavoidable, honestly, because we don't want to roll something out that's going to be, horrible for you to use and cause you to be frustrated and angry. But if you're looking for something in the meantime and your list is under 2,000 members, you can go ahead and use MailChimp, which is a free service up to 2,000 people, up to 2,000 subscribers. And that's a great way to build a list, and it usually plugs in pretty easily to all the various web hosts. I use Squarespace for my hosting, and they have sort of a deal with MailChimp that lets you integrate it directly into the site, which is great, except that I don't do that, so I've had to kind of improvise. But at any rate, check that out, and please do sign up on that mailing list, and we'll be in touch to let you know how it's going and how the beta sort of transpires and how we can get you onboarded. And, worst case scenario, it doesn't happen and you haven't lost anything. We're not going to charge you to get on the list. And if you have less than 2,000 subscribers, even if you do get the mailing list set up, it's going to be free. So no real risk there. And you can always export your list and take it right back to MailChimp or Constant Contact or whoever you want to use. So thanks, Jason, for getting in touch. I really appreciate that. If you would like to get in touch and ask a question of your own, whether it be about services that I'm part of or anything else, really, give me a call, 281-809-WORD. That's 281-809-9673, where you can leave me a voicemail and I'll play it on air just like I did for Jason. So thanks a lot, Jason. And now I've got a really special treat. Last week, if you tuned in, you listened to my interview with Deb Drum, she created a service that helps authors find reviewers, and that's something that we desperately need. But before we can even get the review, we got to get that book written. And sometimes that's the hardest part for a lot of authors, especially new authors. But even if you've been in this game for a while, you may be interested in how to write better faster, which is what Monica Leonelle specializes in. I'm going to plug my own little book here just for a second, because I do want to point out that through the end of January 31st, 2016, you can pick up 30-Day Author for just 99 cents. Now, I mention that because Monica and I both have similar approaches, but they are different enough that I think you could benefit from both. So end my free plug, and now let's get to Monica and what she's doing. You're going to love this interview. And again, this is yet another person that I encountered thanks to the self-publishing podcast guys at that Colony Summit in Austin last year. So that thing has been a wealth for me. So listen in on this interview with Monica Leonelle and enjoy, and then stick around for the wrapper after. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. And today, I've met her in person, and that was kind of a cool experience. But I'm actually talking with Monica Leonelle, who... Monica, I have to apologize. I keep telling everyone, I keep calling you Monica Leonelli for some reason, but that's not your name. But Monica's the author of Write Better, Faster, How to Triple Your Writing Speed and Write More Every Day. That's part of her Growth Hacking for Storytellers series. You and I we both released a book about writing faster around the same time. And you're the reason, by the way, that I don't get to talk about that book on Joanna Penn's show. So. Oh no, I'm sorry.
That's cool. Yeah. I've been, I think Chris Fox scooped me on something.
Yeah, he did.
Dictation.
Right. Yeah.
So sometimes you get scooped by others.
And it all goes in trends. I'm totally not going to do a dictation book. Because it's not even in my wheelhouse, but it's good to know you guys have that covered. But yeah, I'm going to be on Joanna's show though, talking about something else entirely. So we're cool.
That's awesome.
Cool. So tell me a little about. I mean, you've got a ton of books out there. The whole Growth Hacking for Storytellers is a huge series. I've read at least 3 of those books. And you're kind of out for the indie author to kind of help us pick up a new set of skills, huh?
Yeah, so the Growth Hacking for Storytellers series, it kind of grew this year. I wasn't really planning on it or expecting it, but basically I started with the Write Better Faster book, which is all about increasing your writing speed. Mm-hmm. And I thought that it was going to be a very niche book. I mean, I expected it to be just, indie authors who wanted to increase their writing speed. But then I got a bunch of questions about, writing, just like having a daily writing habit, and like tons of questions about dictation. So then I decided to do 2 spin-off books, and then the series has kind of grown from there. So, yeah, but basically the idea of the series is really just to share kind of my own ideas about how you can hack the career as an indie author. So
that's good.
The first 3, the first 3 are about writing productivity, and then my 4th one is called Nail Your Story, and that one is about. It's also about writing productivity because, but it's really for fiction authors to help them kind of build a cohesive story outline and do beats and that sort of thing. So
well, and I like the fact that you're pulling from personal experience. This isn't like you pontificating upon something you read somewhere or whatever. I mean, you're using techniques like this every day, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I've been publishing. I've been an independent author since 2009. So those first couple of years, so that's like 6 years. Right. I feel like I should be more successful by now. The first couple of years, I had a full-time job and I was copywriting, which I know you're also a copywriter. So we also have that in common. But yeah, I was just doing a lot of other stuff. But yeah, definitely a lot of it just comes from my own struggle, really. Right. Because I also struggled with writing productivity when I started. I also struggled with having, increasing my writing speed. I struggled learning dictation, and I struggled with outlining. So that's kind of, I figure out my own system, and then I put it in a book and put it out there. So.
And then make, buckets full of money off the whole thing. So, or maybe, theoretically. Buckets. Yeah, if my experience is any indication, you're making maybe thimbles full of money off of each book every time it releases. Right? So, so dictation, I know you covered this at length on other podcasts, but I know it's probably something new to my audience, and I just wanted to bring it up because you did do a book about dictation. That's not something that appeals to me for some reason. I guess maybe some part of me thinks, it would be kind of nice to just sit back and dictate a book, but that it seems impersonal to me somehow. But you've managed to you're doing this regularly, right? I mean, this is something do you dictate all your books?
Yeah, I dictate. Well, I would say I dictate parts of all my books. Okay. So the book Dictate Your Book, I dictated every word of that book because you have to. Yeah, it's not principle. I would say so. I started dictation through nonfiction, and it was really just a way for me to get through gobs of I don't know, blog articles or whatever I was writing for other people. So it was a way to kind of get through that quickly and get those first drafts done. And I could get through seven articles a day or something. Okay. I could get through quite a bit. So that's how I started out with it. And it was a way to kind of get my work done so I could have some playtime. But then I also, with about a year after I started using it, I figured out how to use it for fiction. So when I figured that out, actually, things for my indie author career, they kind of started taking off. Yeah. And I think this was at the end of 2013, roughly. So in 2014, I did 8 books. And then this year I've done 9. I was hoping to do more, and I probably will have a couple more out. But I think so my goal was to get to 17, and I have not. I don't think I'm going to hit that. But it's still, it's still a lot of books. Yeah, I still have 27 days left.
Yeah. That's not even a book a day. I mean, that's one day and then edit, and you're out. It's
a couple books a week. No big deal.
No big deal. So, especially when you're writing better, faster, right?
Yeah.
Actually hearing you talk about it now, I'm kind of thinking I might try dictation for the nonfiction stuff, because that's always the thing that blog posts, no big deal, and in shorter copy and that sort of thing, but longer format, I might be able to use that. I don't think I could ever do it for fiction. It just doesn't feel right. There's just something about it that doesn't gel with me. But
yeah, it's definitely not easy for fiction. So a lot of fiction authors, they kind of try to like just start using it for that. And I'm like, whoa, like let's slow down, try some emails, try some like blog posts or something.
Right.
Because nonfiction is just a lot easier to do dictation with.
Right. You use Dragon, right?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I use Dragon Dictate for Mac, and I just upgraded from 3 to 5.
Oh, okay.
So I probably should have upgraded to 4 at some point, but I was just like, I was so comfortable with 3, and I was like, I know I'm gonna have to like, redo my profile and everything, so I kind of put it off a little too long.
Right. Well, haven't tried it at all, and for some reason, when I went and looked at the various different versions of Dragon, it seemed like there were 1,000 of them. So,
yeah,
I got overwhelmed. So,
yeah, there's definitely. I think. Well, the Naturally Speaking is for Windows, so you really just have to look at the Mac ones, and then I don't know, they might have like student teacher editions, or they have a couple different things.
Right. All right. So, Nail Your Story. Is that your latest one? That's not the latest one, is it?
Yeah, no, it is the latest one.
Okay.
So I had a couple other ones that were going to come out this year, and I pushed them back till next year.
Okay.
So yeah.
See, it gets confusing for me because in Slack we talk about everything we're working on. So I probably had it in my head that you had like 20 books sitting here in this series.
Yeah.
But tell me a little about Nail Your Story.
Yeah, so Nail Your Story, it's basically it's kind of my own framework for developing stories, and the idea is there were a couple things I wanted to do with it. One was that I wanted to make theme the focus, and so I talk about how you can get like your characters from your theme, how you can get your plot from your theme, like kind of everything can be built off of the theme. The other thing I wanted to do was show like relationships, like both back and forth relationships between different things, like different like major story elements. Right. So, for example, if you had your characters, like how do you get your theme? How do you get your plot from those things? So I wanted to show all those relationships and kind of, because I feel like at least when I was trying to learn how to do this, I felt like it was, here's your theme, here's your concept, and like all these different things were talked about in silos.
Right.
And it's like at the end, you just have like a bunch of stuff that you did, but like it doesn't necessarily go together or like make sense. And you're kind of left wading through it. So I wanted to just have a really simple framework for getting like your plot down, your characters, your theme, your concept, like having and kind of being able to lay it all out and having those things be congruent with each other, really.
Right. And that's an interesting approach to it because that's not my approach. I mean, I start with character basically. So, and I've talked to a lot of authors I think that could benefit from starting with theme.
Yeah,
which is it's an underexplored topic. If you actually studied writing in school, like that's not how they talk about it. They talk about that's sort of an afterthought, really.
Yeah. And so the framework you can actually, so like if you start with character, you could actually kind of build out from that as well. Okay. Because another thing I talk about is like the world building and story, like kind of these thematic elements, like symbols, motifs, that sort of thing. Right. And it's all kind of like the way my framework works is it kind of all goes together. So if you have made certain decisions about your characters, what do those decisions mean for your world, and what do they mean for your theme? Yeah. So that's kind of how the framework works. And it has, when you get the book, you get like the worksheets as well, and you can kind of work through them. And you can it's kind of cool. You can just start wherever you want, really. So if you want to start with characters, then you can, and you can kind of just build out from there.
Right.
So,
okay, all these books that you've pulled together are all about helping that any author really, but especially getting authors into that mindset of treating it like a business. You have your reasons for doing that. I mean, how difficult is it to sort of maintain a business around that idea? Do you think you're kind of tapping the well dry at any point, or is there plenty of room for this?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't think that my business is the growth hacking for storyteller series. Yeah.
I promise we're going to get to your fiction at some point.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's a very limited market. And, I never, again, like I never really intended for the books to be kind of as, as popular as they have become. But that being said, I think a lot of the leaders in the space right now, they're really they're speaking to more of the like not professional, but like semi-professional, like somebody who's kind of figured out a lot of this stuff already. So I think the people that I'm speaking to with these books are people who, they want to write a novel, but they haven't, like they're having trouble sitting down and doing it. So there are people who are kind of a little earlier in the process, maybe. Mm-hmm. And I think that is, I think that's who I'm helping right now.
Right.
That said, a lot of authors who are kind of like at my stage, maybe a little ahead of me, maybe a little behind me, but a lot of those authors also pick up the books, especially Dictate Your Book. I mean, that's certainly for advanced, that's for the advanced writers out there. A book like The 8-Minute Writing Habit, that's pretty much for somebody who is struggling to write their first book or their first couple books.
Right. Right. And it's funny because you say it's a limited market, but, I look around and there are so many people, and me included, that are, generating products for this market. Not all of them say the same stuff either. I mean, even though they might have similar themes. So I think you're filling there's a nice opening there for what you're filling.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the real reason that I am doing it is because I want to have my ideas out there. So, and I want to help people with those ideas. And I think that I can help people with those ideas. And then, this past year has kind of shown me like, yeah, these ideas are helping people because I hear back from people, that read the books. But yeah, I think, I don't think you should write something unless you're passionate about it. And so this is, I've always loved to kind of talk about what I'm learning,
right? Like
kind of like as I'm learning it or like shortly after I've learned it. So that's kind of what the series is about to me. Right. And then the other piece of it is really, like you said, kind of influencing mindset, because I think I've had to do a lot of I've had to kind of level up my own mindset, and I think being able to pass that on to other authors, it's just like a kind thing to do.
Yeah, good karma.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and the saying goes that if you want to learn something, teach it, and I think that's definitely you. I mean, I think you're it's interesting because you're sharing quite a bit. I mean, I've read at least 3 of the books. I think I read your bundle is what it came down to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, you're sharing, and I can sense that you're feeling out these ideas yourself, and they're there's a kind of profundity to them. So good work.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's definitely, it's definitely stuff that I've learned, somewhat recently, like within the last couple of years. And really that I still have to revisit as well. And I think that's something that authors should know is like, you don't just learn it once. And I'm sure you kind of have this experience too, where you have to like work your way back to your good habits, and, you have to kind of refine your ideas and keep improving your craft, like all of those things. It's just kind of this ongoing learning experience.
Yeah. I'm kind of amazed at how often I have to start over. Like I for a moment there, I thought I had this mastered, and now I got to give it a whole new shot.
Right.
So how do you feel that? Do you feel that writing these books for authors and helping other authors, how is that influencing your creative writing career? I mean, it's all creative writing. I hate distinguishing it that way, but I mean your fiction career when I say that.
Yeah, I think I have a greater responsibility. So this is actually a great example. So I did have a couple more books that I plan to release in the Growth Hacking for Storytellers series this year, but I decided to push them back. And the reason was because I written them up, and I was going through them, but I was like, I really haven't implemented enough of this content. Like I know the content is good. I know it works, but I haven't really implemented it. So I need to go out and go live that. And so it was stuff like, for example, one of the books was about building your email list. And I have a decent sized email list. And I'm pretty good at building that. But I just don't, when you look at my website, like I don't have all the pieces in place. Like all these things I know that I need to do. So I was like, I'm going to push this back a couple months because I want to make sure I have all those things in place so that when somebody reads this book, they can actually go look at my website and I'm actually walking my talk.
Right.
So I think that's a big part of it. Other than that, though, I mean, like all the ideas that I put out there, they're all ideas that I use right now. Like if I'm going to go outline a story, then I go back and like go through my own like book about it. Like, I mean, I don't have it memorized. Like I go through it. So I definitely use these ideas and kind of like keep testing them and refining them.
Right. So, okay, what is your sort of daily habit for writing? Do you write every single day?
Yeah, I took a little sabbatical for a couple weeks in November, but yes, other than those, couple, like I do that probably a couple times a year. So other than that though, I do write every single day. And basically right now, I mean, I think the big thing for me right now is that I'm building a team. So I've taken the last couple of weeks to kind of organize that. And so we have 3 people on our team now. Okay. 2 of them just joined. I went from having 1 assistant in July to now I have like 3 people working for me.
Very nice.
And so that has been like a huge transition for me in the way I think about things. So I would say my daily habit is, I definitely I try to do all the healthy stuff. Like I try to work out for like 20 minutes in the morning, just like a little, pop in like a workout video or a stretching video or whatever. I try to walk in the afternoon with my dog. I try to eat like salad for lunch and then I can eat whatever I want for dinner.
Okay.
So,
right.
Yeah. So just just little things like that. But then also I try to have a chunk of writing and then I'll do like kind of admin stuff really for like the later section of my day. But yeah, I mean, I think even routines, they're kind of always being refined, but that's kind of what I'm doing right now.
So how are you building your team?
Well, so honestly, it's a challenge because what I've really been doing is I've just been kind of keeping my eye out for people that I think would be good for the team.
Right.
And then when I find them, I just say, okay, you want to be on the team? And so then I kind of just bring them into, we have a Slack, everything I sign to people, it's all like, screen share videos. Right. So I'm kind of like, okay, here's like a couple things you can start with. We're in Asana and we're assigning tasks like that. Right. So really it's like right now it's just like, if I think you'd be good for it, then, I bring you in. Right. And then you kind of have to figure out what you're gonna do to like help what I'm doing.
Own your role and
you kind of get to like I say you kind of have to, but it really is you get the opportunity to define what you're going to do within like obviously I have a certain I have like projects or whatever, but within those projects you can kind of figure out like where do your skills lie and that sort of thing.
So what you're saying is we should be on the lookout for the how to build a team for authors.
Oh gosh. Yeah. It's definitely not on the plan. I've actually had a couple of people ask me about it though already. And I'm just like, I don't know anything about this. Like I'm not the expert.
It's funny because it's trickier than people think to build a good team. And I've been a creative director. I've built teams from scratch and did not know the people I was engaging most of the time. And so it's a lot trickier than people think. I love Asana, by the way, and although I'm lazy about using it, and I love Slack, and all the tools are great, but all the great tools in the world aren't going make that team work if you're not if you're not committed to putting in the time. And what I find is I end up putting in probably more time in managing the team than I was putting in doing the rest of the work, at least at first.
Right.
Are you kind of experiencing that?
Yeah, definitely. And that's really why I kind of like took a couple weeks off. And also because I had just been like releasing book after book for the last several months. So, but yeah, absolutely. Like I feel overwhelmed. But it's really important to me to onboard people properly. Only because my first assistant is it's Maya Good. I don't know if you know her.
Yeah, actually,
but she has a podcast and everything.
I don't know her personally, but I mean,
Sure.
I encountered her on the SPP or the Colonist forums or whatever on Google Plus a couple of times.
Yeah. So she was my first assistant, and she kind of like knows me now. So she's been with me like 6 months, and she knows me. She knows what, she knows how I think, all of that stuff. But that took a little bit of time to build up. So if you put that investment in up front, because now Maya can like go off and do anything really. Like I can give her a project and she's like, do like, and it's all, it's like a little like Christmas elf, like working behind the scenes to get stuff done.
Yeah.
But yeah, she just knows a lot now. So my two new people, I'm trying to get them to that point as well. And it is a challenge. There's a lot of investment up front, which I kind of always, I knew before getting into it, but it can be overwhelming and it can feel like things are moving very slow at first. And it can also feel like there's a lot of communication challenges at first.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I need to bring in more people.
Yeah.
Which I think every author comes to that point where they're like, yes, I need to bring in more people, but I also need to not have a nervous breakdown. So it's a thin, fine line.
Yeah, one thing for me is I kind of tried to start before I was ready, or like I am starting before I'm ready.
Always
because I've seen kind of behind the scenes for some authors, and they're doing like everything still, even though they're huge. They have huge success, like much larger success than I have. But
right.
And it's kind of like the house is on fire at that point, and you're like bringing people in, but they need your guidance. So I'm trying to kind of get that organized before next year and before things start to get crazy. And I mean, hopefully before some of my fiction projects kind of like start to take off.
Right. So okay, talking about fiction, what are some of your finer fiction works? Like, what are you most proud of in your fiction library?
Gosh, I feel like that's it's just such a mess right now. So I'm really looking forward to the team like kind of sweeping that up. Right. So I have I finished my first series this year. It's under my romance pen name, and it was a 9-book series, novellas, so not full length.
Okay.
So that was really exciting for me because I've never finished a series before. And then I have 2 new series for that coming out next year. And they're going to be like standalone novels, but in a series still type of series. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you know what I mean by that, but
I think I kind of know what you mean.
Yeah.
By that.
So like each one is like you can read it standalone, but then they all kind of like right. They all can kind of like go together as well. Yeah. So I have 2 series for that. And then the larger or the more exciting thing for me is that so I write young adult fantasy and sci-fi under my own name, but the last couple of years I really haven't had time to dedicate to that. So, but now the series that I've been working on kind of since the beginning, since like probably 2010, that series is going to be kind of like relaunched next year. So I'm hoping that it does really well.
Yeah. So,
but it's like it's cool. It's like a young adult fantasy. So
yeah, is that the social punk books?
Yeah. Well, so that's the social punk series is sci-fi. Okay. So Yeah, that one's still unfortunately on the back burner. No,
Okay.
it's called
I'm with you.
Waters. Yeah, it's called Waters Dark and Deep. And yeah, it's going to be really cool. I think because I don't know if you do this as well, but I've been writing it in my head for like years and
Yeah.
years and years.
Yeah.
And it really it was a matter of money for me for a long time. It was like, I have to do my romance series because that's where I'm earning. And then like, now I'm making money from the growth hacking series too. So I want to keep maintaining those, of course.
Right.
And I don't want to lose momentum there. But everything under Monica Leonelle has kind of, I don't know, it's just been kind of on the back burner until I can get back to it. So
Yeah, because all your marketing goes to the romance titles.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. And it's kind of cool because romance is a really good place to learn marketing. And I don't think I would have learned as much about book marketing if it hadn't been for writing in romance.
All you romance authors.
Yeah, the romance authors are rocking it. But yeah, like Facebook ads, like blog tours, stuff like that. Like I've learned how to do a lot of that stuff,
Right.
primarily through the romance work. So I can now take that and apply it, hopefully, to the young adult fantasy. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, you guys, you've half convinced me. I interviewed Ember Casey on the show, and you guys have half convinced me to write a romance series now.
Oh, cool.
But I'm half convinced. Half. The other half of me is like, that would be one more thing I'd have to market and separately from everything else I'm doing. So
yeah,
don't
it's
know
a lot
that's
of
going to
work.
happen. But
It's a lot of work. Yeah. I mean, one thing I'm doing, and this is probably easier for me than it would be for you, but I'm doing a crossover for my pen names next year. So
really, okay.
yeah. So my romance one and my my real name, Monica Leonelle, those are going to have a crossover series, and it's kind of like a cross in between because it's right now with the romance I write kind of like the steamier romance, and then I have like young adult contemporary romance on the Monica Leonelle side, so I'm going to do something in the like new adult area. So that I hope that helps with the
You
craziness of having two pen names.
You should co-author with yourself. Like just
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's what we're doing.
Is that what you're doing? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
That's
like a
freaking
co-author.
brilliant.
Yeah, I'm co-authoring with myself.
That's kind of what Stephen King did that with his Richard Bachman. He wrote Desperation and The Regulators, and they were both one personality wrote one, and the other wrote the other, and there was some crossover between them. So
That's
kind of cool.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
what about
definitely
multiple?
doing that.
What about the whole multiple genre thing? Like the advice you always get is to not mingle genres. It stick to one thing under your brand. And you're doing under your Monica Leonelle brand. You're doing nonfiction and your fiction work, the young adult stuff and the social punk and all that. So how's that working out? Like, and I know you're not spending quite as much time marketing those books as you are the romance stuff. But is it difficult to differentiate when you've got multiple genres working together?
Yeah, it definitely is. And I don't think I necessarily am doing it the right way. I didn't want to change the only option I have, I can either do like M. Leonelle for my nonfiction, or I could do something similar for my fiction. So one thing I'm doing is that my nonfiction stuff is only available on Amazon through Kindle Unlimited. So I'm hoping that helps. So really on the other platforms, there's not going to be really any crossover. So like iTunes is a pretty big market. Like Google Play is becoming a bigger market. So they won't be confused there. Unfortunately on Amazon, there's a little bit of confusion. But that being said, I think, when you're doing a nonfiction series like the one I'm doing, you've got to have the goods to back it up. And I think that's something that people can't really see right now because most of my stuff is under a romance pen name. I don't really talk about that because that's the whole reason I have the pen name. And I think that a big part of something that I need to do next year is really to get my fiction under Monica Leonelle doing well. And I think those two will work together on Amazon, and then on the other platforms, I'll hopefully just be able to build it as a fiction author.
So that may be where your team kind of will really come in handy, I think, because I know the very thought of starting to market an entirely different brand just makes me want to vomit my toenails up. So
yeah, it really is a lot of work, and that's definitely why I have the team coming in and just kind of teaching them to do, like I've learned a lot in romance, so teaching them to not only improve that brand, but then also to take that and apply it to this essentially a new brand, because it's a brand that's been around for a while, but it's had a lot of false starts. So we're kind of like relaunching all the fiction under Monica Leonelle. But yeah, I mean, I like, the reason I got the team is because I can't do it myself, and I know that. And I think sometimes when you force yourself, so right now, I have this team, and like, you have to have resources to support that team. And I mean, all sorts, like time, money, energy, you have to have all of that stuff. But I'm finding that having the team forces me to find those resources, as opposed to waiting for those resources and then getting the team, because you can't, like, even having Maya on my team for 6 months, my earnings have gone up significantly, and I can't, she's not necessarily responsible directly, but there's got to be a reason for that.
Right.
I don't think it's coincidental. It's definitely because she, was taking stuff off my plate, and I was able to focus maybe on writing or whatever it was. Right. So I'm hoping that this, short-term challenge or whatever, I'm hoping that investment really pays off with my new people as well.
I'm certain it will. I mean, I'm kind of surprised to hear that kind of detail, because that's the kind of thing you hope for. But in 6 months, I mean, that's pretty remarkable that you would see that kind of, increase.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, probably quadrupled income.
Wow, really?
Yeah, and I think it's, again, I can't really attribute it to that, but like, what else was there? I mean, I had new releases, but I always have new releases.
Right.
So, I think part of it is building, but I think, when you have somebody helping you, you're just kind of giving yourself support, and I think it really pays off on like an emotional level, an energetic level, right? Much more than even the tasks that they're doing necessarily. So I think that's been a big part of my success this year.
What are some of the tasks that they're doing? Like,
yeah. So Maya does all of my translations. Finding the translators. Right. She doesn't do the translations, just to be clear.
I was impressed.
Yeah, really? So she does all the translations. She does all my audiobooks right now, which we have new audiobooks coming out. We're launching 2 podcasts next year, and she's producing both of them.
Really?
So, because I was like, I could do podcasts, but I don't know how to do, I don't have time to learn that. That's like that's like being an indie author again, like starting at the beginning. I know.
I have 3 at the moment. I'm kind of, I'd like to.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's producing 2 podcasts. I think she's going to do my print books as well, because I've been really lazy about getting that done. Yeah. And then she, she scheduled this podcast interview, for example. So she does a lot of my admin. She does she'll schedule like promotions on different platforms, and set up like deal site, like all sorts of stuff. It's all like very, it's a long list of like little things, but it really, really makes a big difference.
Yeah, I could see that. Just handing off producing this show alone would free me up like several hours a week, so I would be very happy to do that.
Exactly.
So, maybe I should talk to Maya. No. So you're going to start a couple of podcasts. What are those going to be?
Well, one is for Prose on Fire, and it's basically it's basically going to be kind of similar to what we're talking about now. Like it'll just be like kind of a behind the scenes. I'll focus it on topics. I'm not going to do interviews. Just because I don't think I'm a skilled interviewer, and I think there are a lot of interview shows already. So I won't be doing that, but we'll probably have some guest hosts, I guess.
Okay.
So but it'll be about independent publishing and everything. Okay. So kind of adding.
If you're looking for somebody,
for sure. I would love to have you. Yeah, I'd love to have you as a guest host at some point.
That'd be fantastic.
Yep. So then the other one is I probably shouldn't have mentioned it because it's
you don't have to. You can. Yeah,
it's a secret. If it's a secret,
we'll just we'll let that secret lie, and
So look forward to that next year.
Okay, super secret podcast from Monica Leonelle.
Secret. Yep.
All right. Looking forward to it. You can tell me off air.
I will.
So that's cool. What made you decide to jump into podcasting?
I think because this year I've done a bunch of interviews through podcasting, and I really enjoy it, and I think it's a good way to connect with people.
Yeah, it is.
So I'm sure you have like probably a very loyal group of fans.
I do, and I will say this: podcasting has really changed the game for me and changed my life in a lot of ways, and I think you'll really get a lot out of it because it's remarkable what happens, especially when and you're not going to do an interview format show, but you probably will get a lot of the same benefits because once you're kind of doing this, you get a lot of people who just they just want to know you and they hear you in their ear all the time, and so they write you nice things, and they sometimes they give you money, which is nice, but I get some really cool emails from people, most of whom I always ask people to ask questions. No one ever asks questions. Everyone always just, love the show, and I love that guest, and, but they're always full of praise. So it's a great ego boost too. So
yeah. So I'm very excited to do podcasting, and cool. I mean, I'm glad that Maya's producing as well.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Okay. I need a producer. I say stuff like that though, like every other day, and I still don't go out and find anybody. I've got my like copywriters and designers and guys who do work for me that I that I outsource to, but I don't know. I don't know. Letting go of the reins, I guess. Maybe that's the problem.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge, and I mean I still struggle with that all the time. But I know that I think like trying to. Like one thing that's helped me is just trying to see what people do. Right. So sometimes I'm like, that's totally not the way I would do it. But then sometimes, people, you give them a little bit of space and they'll kind of show you what they are able to do. And it works really well still. So that's something that's helped me
so are each of your team, are they all authors themselves, all of them?
No. Two of them are writers. So Maya's a writer, and then another person is a writer. But I don't think either of them are published. I don't think Maya's published right now. I'm not sure. Okay. And then one of them does social media. So they all have different skill sets. One does like social media, and she does like social media images. Mm-hmm. So not like full-fledged design, but she's kind of doing like a lot of social stuff, right? Which is very, very important in the romance genre. Oh yeah. So and I think it'll probably be quite important in the young adult genre as well. So she'll be a huge asset. And then they do copywriting. So a couple people do copywriting in the group. I think a lot of it is just like people who are involved in digital marketing in some way. So a lot of the stuff, a lot of the projects right now, because Maya kind of does like a lot of the admin stuff. So the projects that are left are really focused on digital marketing.
Yeah, digital marketing. It's been sort of this double-edged sword for me.
Yeah, it's a huge time suck.
It is, yeah. Well, the thing is, and I come from a copywriting background, so this stuff I do for clients, and I've discovered I'm a poor resource for me as a client. Like I I would fire me if I were my client. You know what I mean? Because I don't do the things that I should do because it's a cobbler's kid scenario. So too much work. I need someone else. I'm going to hire someone else. Okay. Well, I really admire all the stuff that you're doing for the author community. And, I'm a big fan of that too. I produce some things too. So it's good. We're kindred spirits in that, but you're really out there, and you're producing some great stuff. So thank you on behalf of the community. And, thank you also for being on the show. I'm glad you took the time. I know we had kind of a little bit of a late start, but it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, so thank you so much for saying that. That's really nice.
Oh, no problem. I mean that, actually, because there are a ton of people out there who are producing all kinds of tools and resources for authors, but I don't always get the impression that they're doing it for the author. I get the impression quite often that they're doing it for the buck, which is also not a wrong idea.
Sure.
And, it's great that you're able to make some money off this. I'm glad to hear that, this is contributing to your income and lifestyle because you deserve it. But it is nice to meet people who genuinely care about the author. So I appreciate that. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. And if you, listener, would like to check out more about Monica's work, you can definitely look her up on Amazon, of all places. Go figure. You can find every one of her books there, every one of her nonfiction books there. I think you said you've got books kind of scattered on iTunes and et cetera, right?
Yeah. So all my fiction is kind of everywhere. The nonfiction is just on Amazon, and you can go to prosonfire.com/GHFS.
Very important. I did not jot that down. So it's prosonfire.
prosonfire.com/GHFS. So growth hacking for storytellers. Okay. And that'll kind of bring up the whole, like all the growth hacking books.
Awesome. All right. And they can also check you out at monicaleonelle.com, right?
Yes. monicaleonelle.com. And then the writing stuff is on prosonfire.com.
Excellent. All right. You heard her. And stick around, everybody, for the wrap up after the interview. And Monica, thanks so much again for hanging out with me. And we'll have to do this again sometime.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me.
All right. Take care, everybody. And that was my interview with Monica Leonelle. She's great, actually. And we're in a Slack group together, which has been interesting. And I have to admit, I don't participate as much as I should when we're in those groups. But I do enjoy watching. Monica has lots of great advice. She's very supportive. She's a wonderful asset to the indie author community, actually. So I encourage you to go check out her work, support her. Visit her website. Go buy some of her books. You can buy her books in bundles, which is a technique I haven't started using yet. I need to, because it would be great to be able to offer my stuff like in complete sets or something. But whatever, we'll see how that works out. But you can buy her books in bundles, which will allow you to get a nice little starter library of books that are geared towards helping you build an indie author career. So go check that out. And again, one more plug. I'm shameless, but if you are interested in writing faster, actually, I'll say this: Monica's book is geared. It will help you write faster, no matter what your genre. And she has some great techniques in there. They're very different from what I wrote in 30 Day Author, and my book is really geared towards we'll say it's geared towards the entrepreneur, right? Because we're looking at trying to build a daily writing habit and using a book as a primary marketing tool and a branding tool. So a little different. And if you're a fiction author, you can also enjoy that. But I think for the most part, the audience for this thing is people who want to develop a daily writing habit and stick to it and grow from there. But here's what I recommend. I recommend going to the show notes and clicking on Monica's book, going straight there, buying a copy, and then also picking up 30 Day Author. And if you use those in conjunction, you got like a real winning combo there. So there you go. Blatant plug over. So hey, it's my show. I get to plug what I want. So that's it for me this week. The next time you hear me, I'm actually just after this session ends, I'm going to hit record one more time, do next week's episode today so that I'm all clean. And when you hear that, I won't be anywhere near where I am right now. I'm going to be in Florida at that point. Actually, by that point, we should be We may be in Louisiana at that point, because we're kind of doing a little round trip tour. So stay safe out there. We're going to try to stay safe, of course. Looking forward to this camper experience, and I'm actually thinking I may record something while on the road. We'll see how that works out. That would be kind of fun, wouldn't it? To just do a road episode. I'm going to start doing a lot more of that. Hint, hint, I'm creating something specifically around the idea of what I'm calling the portable life. So be on the lookout for that. Be on the lookout for more episodes of the Word Slinger podcast. And again, call me, 281-809-WORD. That's 281-809-9673. Don't let Jason stand alone. Send me a voicemail. Let's chat on air. Ask me anything. Ask me about my work. Ask me about the work of the people I've interviewed. And I will be happy to include your voicemail on the air. You can also email me if you go to wordslingerpodcast.com. If you are on wordslingerpodcast.com and you are a user of the Chrome browser, I recently learned of a change. Google has changed something in the Chrome browser that essentially breaks the SpeakPipe tab that I have on my site, unless I am running in a secure server. So I have to check with my web host to see what it takes to get that working. But if you're finding that you're having trouble leaving a voicemail from the site, fear not, I'm working on that. But you can hop into another browser like Safari or Explorer or whatever your browser of choice, and you should not have that trouble. It's only in the Chrome browser. So leave me, and by the way, if that does happen to you, send me an email and let me know so I have something to use as ammunition. So take care of yourselves out there. I hope you're having a great year so far. I know I am. I will see you on the road. Happy writing, happy hunting, happy entrepreneurship, everybody. Take care.
Word Slinger.